Zika, tsunamis, Ebola, earthquakes, influenza, floods. People deal more decisively with emergencies when they're informed. Here's Dr. Vincent Covello to tell you how.
Hi, my name is Dr. Vincent Covello. Before I go into more detail, I'd like to share a few biographical details about myself and what I bring to this field. I've worked in this field for close on 35 years, many of those years spent in academia, primarily at Columbia University, at Brown University. I actually wear three different hats. The first hat is as a researcher. I direct a research institute focused on high-stress, high-concern communications. The second is a teacher and instructor, and the third is a practitioner involved in issues such as Ebola or the BP oil spill or Fukushima, the nuclear power plant accident, or the Zika outbreak in Brazil. One of the key points that we make in this course is that the rules of communication change in high-stress situations. How the brain processes information, both the frontal lobes of the brain, how we process messages, logical messages, how we process the emotional content, let alone how we process the information that deals with fear and threat, are radically changed by the way we process information in a high-stress situation compared to a low-stress situation. And so in this course, we lay out both best practices as well as examples of how that might vary. The first is that high-stress, high-concern communication is a science-based discipline. The second is that the rules of communication change in high-stress, high-concern situations. And the third, that the key to success in high-stress, high-concern communication is anticipation, preparation, and practice. You get three benefits coming from this exchange of information. The first is that you're more likely to better inform people about the issue. They'll be more knowledgeable in order to make an informed decision. The second is the exchange of information is more likely to lead to trust, that people will feel that you've listened to them, that you've responded to their concerns. And the third is that you're more likely to gain agreement, to gain consensus about an issue, especially when there may be controversy or conflict. There are four major theories that make up high-stress, high-concern communication. The first is called trust determination theory. The second is called mental noise theory. The third is called risk perception theory, and the last is called negative dominance theory. The first and perhaps the most important is called trust determination theory. Why? Because trust is the underpinning for all effective communication. If people don't trust you, it doesn't matter what your message is. Trust determination theory has a number of major concepts introduced into it, such as that when people are stressed and upset, they want to know that you care before they care what you know. It also looks at issues such as honesty, openness, transparency. It looks at issues such as competence, knowledge, expertise, and looks at issues such as perseverance, dedication, and commitment. The second major theory is called mental noise theory. Mental noise theory talks about the fact that when people are stressed, it affects their processing of information. One major hypothesis in that field, or in that theory, is that when people are stressed and upset, they have difficulty processing information, and therefore we, among other things, want to keep it as simple and short as possible in our initial conversation. The third major theory is called risk perception theory. That began with observations such as that perception equals or becomes reality. That which is perceived as real is real in its consequences. It talks about the importance in perception of issues such as trust, benefits, fairness, let alone issues of control. And finally, the last theory is called negative dominance theory. Negative dominance theory, among other things, points out that people tend to focus much more on negative information than positive information, often to a 3-to-1 ratio. The second major component of high concern, high stress communication are the tools that make up the field. In the same way that you can have a carpenter, they need tools. Well, the same thing with those who communicate about high stress, high concern situations. We have various tools in our toolbox. They begin with the classical tools that were introduced again 2,000 years ago by Aristotle, such as making appeals to emotion, appeals to logic, appeals to authority, rules and regulations. Then we also have a more modern set of tools that come from the research and the science focused on high-stress, high-concern communication. They're called templates such as the R3 or the 2793 or the CCO, a wide variety of tools that we can use in order to be more effective in high-stress, high-concern communication. And the third tool we use is called a message map. A message map allows us to archive our answers to anticipated questions and concerns using the tools and these templates that come from the research over the past 35 years. The third major component of high concern, high stress communication are the special topics, where we take the various tools, the various theories, and apply them to situations that require specialized expertise. For example, making presentations in high stress, high concern situations, nonverbal communications, how do we present ourselves, not just what we say, but what we look like and what we sound like when we say it. How do we incorporate cultural diversity into our high stress, high concern communications? All of these become part and parcel of the field of high stress, high concern communication. So you can ask yourself, what are the consequences of not being successful in high stress communication, high concern communication? The first is that you simply don't get your point across, that the person is not well informed, which means they make a misinformed or uninformed decision about the issue. The second is they don't trust you. That fundamental to effective communication is trust, and one of the goals of high-stress communication is to enhance or build or repair trust. If you fail in communication, you can lose trust. And finally, our goal is to get agreement, consensus. If you don't communicate well, you can have disagreement, conflict. If we communicate well, we can get agreement and consensus. So if you follow the best practices, the science on which those best practices are based, that are described in this course, it'll give you the tools, the theories, the understandings necessary to be a more effective communicator in a high-stress situation.